Good morning, everyone. I'm Professor Amit Jadhav. Today, we are going to see some new concepts in cell phone and mobile device forensic. In last lecture, we have started with the cell phone forensic that we discussed about the cell phone. What are the tools that we require to perform cell phone forensic? So, these are the different techniques that we use in a mobile, that is CDMA, then GSM, TDMA, IDN, DMPass, Edge, OFDM that we have discussed in the last lecture. Then we use in mobile that base station controller, mobile switching center, also base transfer station. So today we are going to see the acquisition procedure. Just a minute. Acquisition procedure for cell phone and mobile devices. So it's important to have proper search and seizure procedure for the cell phone. The main fear with the mobile devices is loss of power and synchronization with PCs. As all the mobile devices have volatile memory, so ensure that you retrieve the RAM data before the power off. So, in case of computer, it has a volatile memory as well as non-volatile memory. So we can get the data from non-volatile memory easily. But in case of cell phone, it is difficult to get the data as it has only volatile memory, right? So from volatile memory, we have to receive all the data, and it's difficult one if the your mobile get turn off. So if you are investing a scene, then specify that mobile device is on or off. If the device is off, then correct the charger as soon as possible, or if it is on, then check the LCD display for the battery's current charge level. So it's important. It's important. So it's important to turn off the mobile first, because if the mobile is not turned off, then we cannot get the data. So first of all, we have to turn off the mobile, and if it is turned off, but if the display is not work, we have to check that one also, because it's important to get all the data from the mobile. As you know that mobile devices are connected to the PC via cable, cradle station should be disconnected immediately from the PC. It helps to prevent the automatic synchronization that might occur on a fixed schedule and override data on the device. So if our mobile is connected to the PC, then we must be disconnected, because if we connected it, then it will synchronize the data, okay, and it will create an error for us. If it is synchronized, there is a chance to overwrite the data if the same data and same location is there. Additionally, collect PC and any peripheral device that determine whether the hard drive consists of any information that's not on the mobile device. So if we do the synchronization, then the problem is occur that the hard drive will check whether that particular data is present on mobile or not. So it's difficult for us. Based on the warrant, the time of seizure means whenever we collect the data, may be relevant. It may be possible that the message may be received after seizure that may or may not be admissible in court. So uh, we have to check the timing also. That means particular when we get the particular message or when we get the particular data, if it is happened before we collect the data, then it will not consider by the code. If you are turning off the device to protect the battery power or attack, then note down the date and timing when you have taken this step. So for the precaution, we can turn on the battery saver, when the battery we on the battery saver at that time, most of the application that running at the background get closed. So we have to note down the steps. If we do the power saver, we have to know its timing and date, so it will help us for the it will help us at the time of investigation. The solution is isolate the device from the incoming signals by using one of the following options. So if the incoming is started or incoming is continue working, then we have to do the following actions. Put the device in a paint, can preferably one that previously contained radio waves blocking wind. So we get the radio waves detail by blocking the signals. So for that we can put it in the paint. Also, we can make the use of paraben wireless stronghold bag. So it will also the prevent the radio wave signals to come to mobile and to go from the mobile. Make the use of 8 layers of anti-static to block the signal. So it's a very important to block the signal so that we can get the proper information from that particular radio waves, and it will help for the investigation. So we must have to block the signal, and for that we have to perform these actions. The disadvantage of using isolating options is that the mobile device is put into the roaming mode, which speeds up the battery drainage. The solution to this: use the portable mean of power, like a battery power charger. Some mobile phones or device shut themselves off or enter sleep state after reaching the certain low battery level. So the precaution is we have to take at the time of investigation that our cell phone will not power off. For that we can use the extra battery backup or the powered battery powered charger. If we say okay, we can use the charger or battery powered charger that always charge the mobile, because most of the mobile have a facility to turn off when it decreases power battery power at certain level. In the forensic lab, when you come back, then you have to assess what can be retrieved. You have to check the following 4 areas for the critical information: the SIM card, the internal memory, any removable card or external memory cards, and the server. Sorry. So these 4 things are important, and at the time of investigation, the investigator just check these things. That is, it check the SIM card, internal memory, removable card, and the system server. For checking the system server, warrant is required. So to check the voicemail, you need warrant. Help from the service provider is also needed to discover the time of call, to access backups of address books and other. So before start investigation, we must have the warrant, and also we have to take backup of all the data that is stored in a mobile, that is your voicemail, then your messages, your call records, all that should be address book, that should be take a backup of it. On the mobile device there is both volatile and non-volatile memory available for storage. Volatile memory needs power to preserve its content, but non-volatile memory does not. So there are two types of memory are available in mobile phone also. That is volatile memory and non-volatile memory. So if we want to get the data from volatile memory, we must be power on the device. And if it is power off, then also we can get the data from non-volatile memory. Though the exact location of data differ from one phone model to the next, the volatile memory typically contains frequently changed data like missed call, text message, and the time, even user files. And so here, it if our mobile location change, then also we get all the details from the volatile memory. Non-volatile memory contain OS files and store user data. For example, backup files and personal information manager. So in non-volatile memory, the data stored is a operating system that supporting files are there, and also some app data that we store in a mobile. So these data store in a non-volatile memory. As you know, the memory resides in the phone itself and in the SIM card. If the device equipped with one, SIM card's file structure is the hierarchical structure. This file structure starts with the root of the file system, that is MF. So the memory in mobile are phone memory as well as the SIM card memory. So we can get the data from the SIM card also, and that is very important. And the SIM card have the hierarchical structure. That means it's a root file, then it connected to the another files, and from where we have to get all the data. So first that the root file system is MF, and the next level is DF. Under DF, there are files which contains the elementary data EF. The EF in the JSM and DCS 100.
One
Hello. DCF 1800 DFs have network data on the different frequency bands operation. The EF is in the telecom direct telecom disk containing the server service related data. So it's a file structure. The initially the root file is MF, and below that the DF files are there, and after that EF, that is elementary files are there where the network related information gets saved. So this is the structure. The root element is MF, and then DS, GSM, then DF, DSC 1800, DF Telecom, EF, and here all the elementary elements are or elementary fields are EF, and this is the directory field DF, and this is the main field MF. From SIM card, you can recover the moderately a little data. The recovered information falls into four categories. So from SIM card, we get all this data. That is, first one is the service related data. That is SIM card and subscriber identifiers of the SIM card and subscriber. So this data is stored on a SIM card. So whenever we access the SIM card, at that time we get all the uh, all the data or the details of the subscriber. Then call data like dial numbers, message information, location information. So all this information gets stored on a SIM card. If power is lost, you require PIN or other access codes to view the files. Normally, user keep the original PIN assigned to the SIM card. So while collecting the evidence at the scene, the seek users manual additional documentation that can help you to access the SIM card. So first of all, we have to log in to the mobile. For that, we have to require original PIN. So user put up its PIN while unlocking the mobile. Also, we have to get the SIM data by seeking the manual additional documentation information from. In many SIM cards, you have three attempts of entering the access code before the device is locked, else you need to call the service provider or you have to wait for a certain amount of time before trying again. So most of the mobile, for the security reasons, it gives three chances to unlock the mobile. If we uh, make the chances wrong, then it may be locked or it asks to wait for a certain time. So after that particular time, we can log in again. Next one is the mobile forensic. So in the mobile forensic, the biggest challenge is constantly changing models of cell phones, and what works with the current cell phone model will not work with upcoming model. Like the computer forensic, we cannot recover the deleted files in mobile forensic. In mobile forensic, usually you are performing the two tasks. First one is by synchronizing the PC with the device, and second one is the reading SIM card. So we can get the data from the mobile by synchronizing PC with the device. So we have to connect our mobile device to the PC, and we can get the data by synchronizing the mobile devices. And second way is to reading the SIM card. So uh, whenever we read the SIM card, at that time we get the data related the missed call information or phone data that we get from the SIM card. The first step in the mobile forensic is to identifying the mobile device. Many users do not change their device, but some users do not alter their device, but the some file of serial numbers modify the display to show the defective data and so on. So sometimes the memory location get changed in mobile so that it is difficult to confirm the data. So next part is unable to view. I just explain it because I have a hard copy. There are many online sources available to identify the phone. For example, www.phonescoop.com or www.cellphoneshop.com and www.mobileforensiccentre.com. So visiting this online source, we can identify the phone. Second step is to ensure the mobile device software is installed on your forensic machine. Keep in mind that not all services are equipped with the required software because many tools are expensive. So whenever we try to get the data from the mobile, we have to use the tools, and that tools are very expensive. So it's difficult to get the data from the mobile. So the best way is to connect the mobile to the PC and synchronize all the data. Some tools simply take the picture of the scene as you scroll through them. The forensic translation it is not good approach, but if no other alternative is available, then you can use it. So there is one more way that using the picture of the screen. So and translate it using the forensic tool, and we can get the all the data. And one more thing is that third step is to attach the phone, its power supply, and connect it to the correct cable. Use use rich cables to connect the device as cable for the model. You can investigating more or may not be available. Lastly, after the connecting the device, start the forensic program and start downloading the available information. So we can connect the mobile phone to the forensic tools and we can download all the data. Next point is SIM card reader. With mobile device, the next step is to access the SIM card using the hardware or software device called SIM card reader. So there is a SIM card reader also available. We can put it in a SIM card reader and we can get all the data from the SIM card reader. To use this device, you should be in a forensic lab equipped with the anti-static devices. In addition, the biological agents such as the fingerprint might be present on the inside of the case. So you should consult the lead investigator when you are ready to proceed to this step. The general procedure as the follow. So for the SIM card reader, we have to follow the following procedure. Take out back the panel of the device, take out the battery. Under the battery, take the SIM card from the holder and into now into the card reader, insert the SIM card. So this is very basic way to use of SIM card reader. There are some problems occur with the SIM card reader. First one is to understand the data collection procedure of the cell phones and mobile devices. These are many different types of SIM card readers available in the market. Some SIM card readers are forensically sound and some are not. Note down this feature in the device in your investigation log. So sometimes it's difficult to read the SIM card because every SIM card structure is different one. So sometimes it can be read the data and sometimes it's difficult to read the data. Second problem is related to the text and SMS message. It is very difficult to document the unread message. In such situation, use the tools that takes the picture of each screen can be important in this situation. This screen capture can provide the extra documentation. So second problem is the forensic tool cannot read the unread messages. It can read only the messages that read by the user. so it's difficult to get that data also. So these are some problems occur while reading the SIM card. So here we end our third chapter, that is cell phone and mobile device forensic. And here we have completed our first unit. So the question should be asked for the exam are: what type of information does the mobile phone contain? Explain the digital network for mobile phones. Explain the technologies which where the 4G network can be used. What are the main components used with the cell phone for communication? Explain acquisition procedure for the cell phones and mobile devices. Explain mobile forensic. And last one is explain SIM card reader and problems with SIM card reader. So today we have covered the 3 points: acquisition position for the cell phone, second mobile forensic, and third one is the SIM card reader and problem with SIM card reader. So here we have end our session. Tomorrow we will start with the internet forensic. Also we start our fourth fourth chapter and second unit. Okay. So here we end the session. Anyone have any doubt regarding today's lecture? Aishwarya, Fiza, Hemangi, Khalid, Mohit, Pranali, Rupali, Samia, Saurabh, Soham, Sufyan. Anyone have any doubt? Everyone put their attendance in our chat box. Chat box. सगळ्यांनी आपलं रोल नंबर आणि हे राईट केलंय ना, रोल नंबर आणि तुमचं नेम. ओ पिझ्झा, थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. मी सेव्ह केली फाईल आता. ओके, चालेल. आपण सेशन एंड करूया. तुम्हाला काही डाऊट असेल तर तुम्ही व्हॉट्सअपला पण विचारू शकता. थँक्यू फॉर वॉचिंग.